Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a really exciting topic, making English easy through natural conversations, clear tips, and everyday practice. A lot of learners feel like English is a mountain they'll never climb, but the truth is, it's often about starting small with the words and situations you already know.
Exactly. Think about how you learned your first language as a child. You didn't start with complicated grammar rules or long essays. You started with simple phrases like, hello, thank you, or I want this. That's the same way we can approach English. If you're learning, focus on everyday English first, the kind that you use in real-life situations.
Right. For example, let's take a super common situation, ordering coffee. Instead of memorizing a fancy phrase, just practice something like, "Hi, can I have a coffee, please?" That one sentence is powerful. You've greeted someone, made a polite request, and shown confidence.
And the beauty of that is it's repeatable. Tomorrow, when you order tea, you just swap the word. Hi, can I have a tea, please? The structure is the same. Once learners get comfortable with that kind of reusable structure, their confidence grows.
That's a good point, Emma. Many learners think they need hundreds of phrases memorized, but really, a handful of adaptable ones can take you a long way. Let me share a quick story. I had a friend from Brazil who moved to the UK. She was so nervous at first, but she started with just a few sentences, like asking for directions. "Excuse me, where is the station?" And each day she practiced the same kind of structure. In a few months, she was confidently asking about buses, restaurants, and shops, all because she built from that one base.
That's a great story, Alex. And I think it also shows something important. Repetition is not boring, it's powerful. If you say one useful phrase many times in different situations, it becomes automatic. That's how your brain makes it part of your natural conversation toolkit.
Exactly. And listeners, let me ask you a quick question. If I say, "How are you?" what do you naturally answer?
Most people will probably say, I'm fine, thank you. And you? That's the classic textbook answer.
Yes. And that's good, but here's the tip. Native speakers often use even simpler responses, like, "I'm good, thanks," or "Not bad, how about you?" These small shifts sound more natural. So instead of trying to give the perfect grammar answer, think about the responses you actually hear in movies, series, or podcasts.
I like that. And you can even play with intonation. For example, if someone asks, how are you? You could reply in a cheerful tone, I'm great, thanks. Or maybe on a tired day, I'm okay, a bit tired. This gives more personality to your English, and it makes the conversation feel real, not like a script.
Speaking of scripts, many learners use memorized dialogues, which is fine at the start. But the goal is to move away from robotic responses. For instance, imagine this mini dialogue. Person A, "Hi, how are you?" Person B, "I'm fine, thank you." And you? Person A, "I'm fine, thank you."
That sounds polite but stiff. Now compare it with this. Person A, hey, how's it going? Person B, pretty good, thanks. How about you? Person A, can't complain.
That feels alive, right? It's natural, relaxed, and this is where learners should aim, not just grammar, but sounding like a real person.
Absolutely. And one easy trick is to notice everyday phrases you hear around you. If you watch a movie and someone says, sounds good, after agreeing to a plan, try to use that the next day. It's short, easy, and it works in many situations.
Yes, and this brings us to the idea of small talk. Many learners worry about small talk because they think it's meaningless. But actually, small talk is one of the best ways to practice. Saying things like, "It's a nice day today," or "That coffee smells good," opens doors to longer conversations.
Exactly, Alex. I remember when I first started learning Spanish, I felt nervous about long sentences, but I just began by commenting on the weather. hace calor hoy, which means it's hot today. That tiny phrase often led to someone replying, and suddenly we were talking. So in English, don't underestimate those little starters.
Great example, Emma. Let's give our listeners a mini challenge. Tomorrow, when you meet someone, maybe a classmate, a colleague, or even a shop assistant, try one small talk phrase in English. It could be as simple as, busy day? Or, that cake looks delicious. Don't worry about making it perfect, just try.
Yes, and here's another tip. Smile when you say it. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, your friendly tone will carry you through. People respond to warmth and confidence more than flawless grammar.
That's so true. Confidence is often more powerful than correctness. Learners sometimes get stuck thinking, what if I make a mistake? But here's a secret. Even native speakers make mistakes. They forget words, they pause, they restart sentences. That's normal conversation.
Oh, definitely. I mean, listen to us. We're both native English speakers, and we still say or repeat ourselves sometimes. That's part of natural conversation. So if you're learning, don't be afraid of those little slips.
I remember once when I was in Japan, I wanted to say, can I have a ticket to Kyoto? But I accidentally mixed words and said something like, can ticket Kyoto? It wasn't perfect, but the person still understood, smiled, and gave me the ticket. That's the power of communication. It's about being understood, not about being perfect.
That's encouraging, isn't it? Because it means our listeners don't have to wait until they're fluent to start speaking. They can start now with short, everyday phrases.
Exactly. Let's give a quick list of powerful starter phrases for our audience. Ready?
Let's do it. Number 1. Hi, can I have, please? Perfect for ordering food or drinks.
Number 2. Excuse me, where is? Great for asking directions.
Number 3. How's it going? Or what's up? Both easy for casual greetings.
Number 4. That looks great. Or that sounds fun. Perfect for joining in conversations.
And number 5, sorry, can you say that again? This one is super important because it shows you want to understand and it gives you more listening practice.
Those 5 phrases alone can cover so many situations. And here's the fun part. You can practice them right now, even if you're alone.
Yes, stand in front of a mirror and say, hi, can I have a coffee, please? Pretend you're in a cafe. Or walk around your room and say, excuse me, where is the station? It might feel silly, but it's amazing practice.
And to make it stick, connect the phrase to a real moment. For example, next time you're in an actual cafe, don't switch back to your native language. Try the English phrase. That's how it becomes natural.
Exactly. Real-life use is the secret ingredient. Books and apps are helpful, but nothing beats using English in the wild. Even if it's just one sentence a day, that's progress.
And progress builds confidence. Every time you successfully use a phrase, your brain goes, hey, I can do this. That's when English starts to feel easy.
And that's the beautiful part, Alex. Once you realize that you don't need long, complicated sentences to communicate, English suddenly feels lighter. But of course, the next step is building confidence, because a lot of learners actually know phrases, yet they hesitate to use them.
Yes, hesitation is a huge barrier. I've seen so many learners freeze up, not because they don't know the words, but because they're afraid of judgment or mistakes. And that fear creates silence, which means they miss opportunities to practice.
Exactly. And here's the funny thing. Confidence doesn't come before you speak. It comes after you speak. You build it by actually trying. Think about riding a bicycle. You don't wait to feel confident before riding, right? You just get on, maybe wobble a little, maybe fall, and then you learn.
That's such a perfect example. And it's the same with English conversations. You can't wait until you feel ready because you'll never feel completely ready. You have to start talking, even if your voice shakes a little.
I think learners can take comfort in knowing that most people are supportive when they hear someone speaking a second language. I remember when I was living in France, my French wasn't perfect, but when I tried to order food or ask directions, people appreciated the effort. They didn't laugh at my mistakes. In fact, they encouraged me.
Yes, I've had similar experiences. And here's a tip for our listeners. When you're in a conversation, don't aim for perfection. Aim for connection. Let me share a story. A student of mine once told me she was terrified to speak English at her new job in an international company. She worried that her accent was too strong. But one day, she just greeted a colleague with, "Good morning, how's it going?" And guess what? The colleague smiled and started chatting. That small success gave her the courage to keep going.
That's such a great example. And I'd like to add something practical. If you're nervous, start with low-pressure situations. Don't wait for a big meeting or an exam. Practice in safe spaces, maybe with a language partner, a friend, or even with yourself. Talk to yourself in English as you do your daily routine, like, okay, now I'm making tea, now I'm checking my messages. It might sound silly, but it builds fluency and confidence because your brain gets used to forming sentences.
Oh, yes. Self-talk is such a powerful tool. I still do it when I'm learning new languages. It feels private, so there's no fear of mistakes, but your mouth and brain get practice working together. And then, when you're with people, the words come out more easily.
And don't underestimate the role of body language in confidence. If you stand tall, smile, and look at the person you're speaking to, you automatically feel more in control. I've tried this with students. When they physically change their posture, their voice sounds stronger and more confident.
Absolutely, Emma. And here's another trick. Slow down. Many learners think they need to speak fast to sound fluent, but actually, speaking a little slower makes you sound clearer and more confident. Imagine saying, "Hi, my name is Alex. Nice to meet you," slowly and clearly. It comes across calm and confident. Now, if I rush it, "Hi, my name's Alex. Nice to meet you." It sounds nervous.
That's a great demonstration. And slowing down gives you time to think. It reduces mistakes and gives the listener a better chance to understand. Confidence isn't speed, it's clarity.
Exactly. And I'd love to ask our listeners a question. Have you ever avoided speaking English because you felt nervous? If your answer is yes, you're not alone. Almost every learner has that moment. But what if next time you tried just one short sentence instead of staying silent? That's the start of building confidence.
And you don't have to do it all at once. Think of it like climbing stairs. Step 1 could be just greeting someone. Hi. Step 2 could be adding, "Hi, how are you?" Step 3 could be answering when they ask you back. Slowly, your comfort zone expands.
Yes. And I think celebrating small wins is really important here. For example, let's say you go into a shop and successfully ask for water in English. That might seem tiny, but it's actually a victory. You should mentally celebrate it. I did it. I spoke English. These little celebrations build positive momentum.
Exactly. I once had a student who kept a confidence diary. Every day, she wrote one English interaction she had, no matter how small. Things like, "I said thank you to the bus driver," or "I asked someone for the time." After a month, she looked back and realized, wow, I've actually spoken English every single day. That gave her a huge boost.
That's such a powerful exercise, and I think listeners can try it too. Writing down small successes helps you see progress, even if it feels invisible day by day.
And progress builds courage. The more you see yourself improving, the braver you feel. And bravery in conversations is what leads to fluency.
Emma, this reminds me of another important point: mistakes. So many learners fear mistakes, but actually, mistakes are signs that you're trying. I often tell my students, if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning.
Oh, yes, mistakes are teachers in disguise. Let's imagine you say, he go to school every day. A native speaker might reply, oh, you mean he goes to school every day? That correction is valuable. Now you've learned the right form. If you had stayed silent, you wouldn't have learned it.
Exactly. And think about kids again. They make hundreds of mistakes when learning their first language. They say things like, I goed to the park. Do we laugh at them? No, we gently correct them, and over time they get it right. English learners should give themselves that same kindness.
Definitely. And to add to that, don't compare yourself to others. Some learners get discouraged when they hear someone else speaking fluently. But remember, everyone's journey is different. The only person you need to compare yourself to is your past self. Are you a little better than yesterday? Then you're on the right track.
That's such a good reminder. And confidence grows when you focus on progress, not perfection. Even if today you can only say a few words, that's still better than zero. Tomorrow, it'll be a few more words. Over time, it adds up.
Exactly. And one last tip I'd like to give about confidence is this: prepare short, go-to sentences for common situations. For example, if you often meet new people, have your introduction ready. Hi, I'm Emma. I'm learning English. If you often go shopping, have your phrase ready. Excuse me, how much is this? When you prepare in advance, you feel more confident in the moment.
That's brilliant advice. It's like having a little toolbox of sentences you can pull out whenever you need them. And every time you use them successfully, your confidence grows stronger. And that's the beauty of having those go-to sentences, Emma. They give you that instant boost of confidence because you don't have to think too much in the moment. But once you start speaking, the next step is making sure people actually understand you, right? That's where clear communication comes in.
Exactly. Many learners think clear communication is about knowing big words or complex grammar, but really, it's often about how you say things. Tone, pronunciation, and even body language can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Let's start with pronunciation. A lot of learners worry that their accent is a problem. But here's the truth. Accents are beautiful. You don't need to sound like a native speaker. What matters is that people can understand you.
Yes, I love accents. They show your story, your background. The key is clarity, not perfection. For example, if you pronounce the word water differently, like water or woulda, most people will still understand you if you say it clearly in a sentence. Can I have some water, please?
Exactly. And one tip is to listen closely to stress in words and sentences. For example, in English, we stress certain syllables. Computer, not computer. When you use the right stress, your speech instantly sounds clearer.
And that applies to sentences too. Take the phrase, I didn't say she stole the money. If you stress a different word each time, the meaning changes. Like, I didn't say she stole the money
means maybe someone else said it. Or I didn't say she stole the money suggests maybe she borrowed it. Stress changes meaning, so it's powerful.
That's a fun example. Listeners, maybe you can try it now. Pick one sentence you know and practice stressing different words. You'll see how the meaning shifts, and you'll also get better at controlling your voice.
And speaking of voice, intonation matters too. If your voice goes up at the end, it usually sounds like a question. You're coming? If it goes down, it sounds like a statement. You're coming. This can prevent misunderstandings.
Yes. I had a student once who always made his sentences sound like questions because his tone went up, even when he was making a statement. So he'd say, "My name is John," and people got confused. Once he learned to lower his tone for statements, his speech instantly sounded more confident.
That's a great example. And here's another tip. Use pauses. A short pause can make your English clearer and give you time to think. For instance, if someone asks you, "What do?" You don't have to rush. You can pause and say, "I work in marketing." That pause shows you're thoughtful, not unsure.
Yes, pauses are powerful. They also make you sound more natural because native speakers pause all the time. Listen to us. We're pausing in this podcast.
Exactly. And let's not forget body language. Even though this is an audio podcast, communication isn't just words. Smiling, nodding, using your hands a little. These all show that you're engaged in the conversation. If you say, "That's interesting," with a smile and a nod, it feels genuine.
That's so true. I once met a learner who spoke very quietly with no expression, and people thought he wasn't interested. But when he started adding small gestures and a smile, suddenly everyone wanted to talk with him. His words didn't change, but his communication did.
That's a powerful lesson. Sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. Even simple phrases like "thank you" can feel warm or cold depending on your tone.
Right. Imagine two versions, thank you, flat and quiet, versus thank you, with energy. The second one feels alive, friendly, and inviting.
And this is where practice comes in. Record yourself speaking. Listen to how you sound. Do you sound flat? Too fast? Too quiet? Adjust and try again. Many learners hate hearing their own voice at first, but it's such a valuable tool.
Yes, self-recording is like having a free coach. You can notice things you didn't realize, like maybe you always drop the S at the end of words, like he walk instead of he walks. Listening back helps you catch and fix it.
Exactly. And another practical tip is shadowing. That means listening to a native speaker, maybe in a podcast or a TV show, and repeating what they say, copying their rhythm, tone, and stress. It's like karaoke for language.
I love shadowing. I once did it with Spanish telenovelas, repeating after the actors. It felt funny, but it trained my ear and my mouth at the same time. Our listeners can try it too. Pick a short scene from a movie, pause, and repeat the lines exactly as they hear them.
Yes, and don't worry if you don't understand every single word at first. The goal is to get the music of English, the flow, the stress, the melody. That's what makes your speech clearer.
That's such a great point. And for learners who want a quick win, work on key sounds that make a big difference. For example, the difference between ship and sheep. If you say, "I saw a ship," but pronounce it like sheep, the meaning changes completely.
Exactly. Or the difference between rice and lice. In some languages, those sounds are similar, but in English, they mean very different things. Practicing minimal pairs, two words with one sound difference, is a great way to sharpen pronunciation.
Yes, let's give a few pairs for practice. Bit and beat. Cat and cut. Fan and van. Listeners, try saying them out loud and feel the difference.
That's a great mini exercise. And remember, it's not about removing your accent. It's about being understood. If you can say those words clearly, you're doing great.
Absolutely. And here's something interesting. Sometimes simplifying your words makes you clearer, too. You don't always need big vocabulary. For example, instead of saying, I'm experiencing fatigue, just say, I'm tired. Simple is powerful.
I agree. I had a student once who tried to use advanced vocabulary all the time, but it made his speech confusing. When he switched to simpler words, people understood him better and actually enjoyed talking with him more.
That's a key lesson. Clear English is not complicated English. Use short sentences, use common words, and focus on how you deliver them. That's what makes conversations flow naturally.
And to wrap this part up with a little challenge, next time you speak English, focus on just one thing. Maybe your tone, maybe slowing down, maybe adding a smile. Don't try to fix everything at once. One small improvement at a time leads to big progress. And that's the beauty, Alex. Small improvements, one at a time, really do add up. But I know a lot of our listeners are probably wondering, okay, I get it. I should be confident, I should be clear, but how do I actually practice every day?
Exactly. And that's such an important question because learning English isn't about cramming for hours once a week. It's about building little habits that fit into your daily life. That's where the magic happens, when practice becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth.
Yes, daily practice doesn't have to be long or difficult. Even 10 minutes a day is more powerful than 2 hours once a week. The brain learns best with short, frequent practice. So let's talk about some practical, realistic ways listeners can bring English into their everyday life.
All right, here's my first suggestion, listening practice. And I don't mean studying a textbook. I mean listening to real English in fun ways. Podcasts like this one, audiobooks, YouTube videos, even songs. The idea is to surround yourself with the sound of English every day.
Yes, and the more you listen, the more natural the language feels. For example, I used to listen to Spanish radio while I cooked dinner. I didn't understand everything at first, but my ears slowly got used to the rhythm, the sounds, and the expressions. Over time, I started recognizing more and more words.
That's such a good example. And listeners, don't worry if you don't catch every word. Focus on the general meaning, the tone, the common phrases. Even background listening helps. Like if you're cleaning your room, play an English podcast. Your brain is still picking things up.
And if you want to make listening more active, try shadowing like we mentioned earlier. Listen to one sentence, pause, repeat it out loud. It's like you're copying the speaker, and it really trains your mouth and ears at the same time.
That's one. Another great practice method is reading. And again, it doesn't have to be heavy. You can read short news articles, Instagram captions, or even children's books in English.
Yes, I love children's books for learners. The vocabulary is simple, the stories are fun, and you can finish a whole book in one sitting. That gives you a feeling of success, and success keeps motivation high.
Exactly. I had a student once who read Harry Potter in English. At first, she used a dictionary every few lines, but she kept going. After a few months, she noticed she didn't need the dictionary as much. Her reading speed and confidence exploded.
And here's a little trick with reading. Read out loud. Even if you're alone, say the sentences. It's like you're practicing speaking, but with the support of written words. You practice pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency all at once.
That's a fantastic point. And speaking of speaking, this is the skill most learners want to improve. The challenge is, how do you practice speaking if you don't have many English speakers around you?
Good question. And the answer is, you create opportunities. For example, there are language exchange apps where you can chat with people from all over the world, or you can join online conversation groups. But even without that, you can still practice by yourself.
Yes, like the self-talk we mentioned earlier. Describe what you're doing in English. I'm making tea.
I'm sitting down. I'm checking my email. It feels funny at first, but it keeps your brain practicing English sentences in real time.
And you can level it up by asking yourself questions, like, what will I do today? Then answer, I will go shopping, I will call my friend, or talk about your past day. Yesterday, I watched a movie. It was funny. You're basically having mini conversations with yourself.
Exactly. And journaling is another powerful method. Write a few sentences every day in English. It doesn't need to be perfect. For example, today was sunny. I had pizza for lunch. I studied English for 10 minutes. Writing daily strengthens your grammar and vocabulary naturally.
Yes, and if you don't know how to spell a word, look it up. That's part of the learning. And later, when you look back at your old entries, you'll see how much you've improved. It's really motivating.
Absolutely. And another practical tip, practice with technology. Change your phone settings to English. Switch your social media language to English. Even small things like seeing settings instead of your native word keep your brain in contact with English daily.
Yes, I actually learned a lot of vocabulary in Spanish just by changing my phone. Suddenly, I was seeing guardar for save and eliminar for delete. At first, it was confusing, but within a week, those words became automatic.
That's a brilliant hack. And don't forget, you can use your phone to talk to yourself in English. Just record a 1-minute voice note every day about your day. You don't even need to send it to anyone. Then listen back a week later to hear your progress.
And if you want real feedback, you can send those recordings to a language partner or teacher. They can tell you which words are unclear or suggest simpler phrases. It's like having a mirror for your speaking.
That's such good advice. And here's something fun. Music. Singing along to English songs is excellent practice. You don't have to hit every note perfectly. It's about rhythm and pronunciation. Plus, music makes learning enjoyable.
Yes, and when you sing, you practice connected speech, the way words flow together. For example, in songs or in natural speech, going to becomes gonna. Singing helps you hear and practice those patterns.
Exactly. And everyday practice isn't just about what you do, it's also about how you think. If you can, try to think in English during the day. For example, instead of thinking in your native language, I need to buy bread, switch to English, I need to buy bread. Over time, your brain gets used to forming thoughts directly in English.
Yes, that's a huge step. It feels strange at first, but even simple thoughts like, it's hot today, or I'm hungry, help train your brain. You don't always need to translate.
And here's the final point I'd make about everyday practice. Make it fun. If practice feels like a boring chore, you won't keep it up. So mix it with things you love. If you like cooking, watch English cooking videos. If you like football, read English sports news. Connect English to your passions.
Yes, I learned so much French just by watching French cooking shows. It didn't feel like study, it felt like fun. And because I enjoyed it, I kept going every day. That's the secret to consistency.
Exactly. Fun creates consistency, and consistency creates fluency. And here we are, Emma. After talking about starting small, building confidence, communicating clearly, and practicing every day, it feels like we've covered so much. But I think the key now is connecting all these pieces. How do we actually put it all together?
Yes, Alex, that's the most exciting part, because this is where learners can see the full picture. All the tips and tricks we've shared, starting small, boosting confidence, speaking clearly, daily practice, they all work together to make English a natural part of your life.
Exactly. Let's imagine a real-life scenario. You wake up in the morning and decide to use English throughout the day. First, you start with a simple self-talk sentence. Good morning. Today, I will practice English. That's your starting small moment.
Right. Then you move on to listening practice. Maybe you play an English podcast while having breakfast. You hear phrases like, "What's up?" or "Have a great day." You pick up natural expressions without even thinking too hard.
Then you apply confidence. Later, when you meet a colleague or classmate, you greet them with a prepared sentence. Hi, how's it going?
You smile, you pause if needed, and you remember that small mistakes are fine. You're practicing, not performing perfectly.
Exactly. And clarity comes next. You pay attention to pronunciation and stress. Maybe you're explaining what you did yesterday. I went to the park. It was sunny and fun. You slow down, emphasize the important words, and maybe add a little hand gesture. People understand you, and the conversation flows naturally.
And all the while, you're practicing every day. You might record yourself describing your plans for tomorrow or writing a short journal entry. You listen to English songs, read a few lines from a book, or even change your phone to English. Every small action adds up.
And that's the magic formula. Small steps, practiced daily, with focus on confidence and clarity, lead to natural conversations. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Soon, English stops feeling like a separate task. It becomes part of your life.
And here's something I really want our listeners to remember. Fluency doesn't come overnight. It's not about learning every word or mastering every rule in a week. It's about consistency. Even 10 minutes every day is more powerful than hours of practice once a week.
Exactly. And another tip is to track progress. Keep a journal or a voice diary. Every day, note one thing you did in English. Even small wins matter. Over a month, you'll see how far you've come. That visual progress is motivating.
And don't forget the power of reflection. After a conversation, think, what went well? What can I improve? This helps you make each practice session smarter, not just longer.
Yes, and I also encourage our listeners to mix fun into learning. Watch shows you like, listen to music, read topics you enjoy. English shouldn't feel like a chore. It should feel like a tool to connect with the world.
And as you combine all these strategies, you'll notice that speaking English starts to feel natural. You'll remember phrases automatically, your confidence will grow, and your conversations will feel smoother.
And a big part of putting it all together is mindset. Think like a learner who's curious and excited, not like someone trying to be perfect. Curiosity keeps you engaged even when you make mistakes.
That's so true. Mistakes aren't failures, they're stepping stones. Each mistake is a lesson that gets you closer to fluency. So when you stumble, just smile, correct yourself if needed, and keep going.
And for motivation, remember your why. Why are you learning English? Maybe it's for travel, work, making friends, or understanding movies. Keeping that reason in mind makes daily practice feel purposeful.
Yes, and here's a practical tip. Set small, achievable goals. Today, maybe it's greeting someone in English. Tomorrow, ordering food. The day after, describing your morning routine. Small goals stack into big achievements.
Absolutely. And when you hit those milestones, celebrate them. Did you speak to a colleague in English today? Awesome. Did you finish your journal entry? Fantastic. Celebrate the small victories. They keep your momentum going.
And the more you celebrate, the more confident you become. Confidence, clarity, and practice feed each other. Confidence lets you speak, practice makes you better, and clarity ensures people understand you.
Exactly. And combining all these elements creates a cycle of progress. The more you engage with English daily, the more natural it feels, and the more confident and clear your speech becomes.
And that's really the heart of English Made Easy. Natural conversations, clear tips, and everyday practice. When you integrate all these steps, English stops being a challenge and becomes a skill you can use every day.
And listeners, the most important thing is to start now. Don't wait for the perfect moment to practice. Begin today, even with just one sentence, one podcast episode, or one short journal entry. It all counts.
That's right. Take action, make English part of your daily routine, and notice how quickly you start improving. Every small effort compounds over time.
And we want to hear from you too. Share your small wins, your funny mistakes, and your favorite tips for learning English. Engaging with the community keeps the process enjoyable and motivating.
And finally, if you've enjoyed this podcast and want to continue improving your English with us, make sure to subscribe. Follow our episodes, practice the tips we share, and keep learning every day.
Yes, keep practicing, stay curious, and don't be afraid to speak. Remember, English becomes easy when you integrate it into your life naturally, step by step.
And with that, we'll leave you with a simple thought. Start small, practice daily, speak confidently, and enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. Every small conversation, every sentence spoken, and every effort you make brings you closer to fluency. You've got this.